So apparently the internet erupts over Mark Zuckerberg's flag-toting July 4th video. Now, obviously I don't know the context about this whole thing, but I think it's pretty interesting that you have one of the most well-known, most liked, and most hated billionaire in the world that at least seems to show that he loves America, which is pretty cool, if that's the case. But let's get into the story. So, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg on Sunday shared a dramatic 4th of July video of himself toting an American flag while riding an electric surfboard across a lake, once again lighting the internet up as the social media crowd chimed in. Happy July 4th, Zuckerberg, who's worth an estimated $132 billion, wrote on the Instagram post of the video. The Facebook founder appeared to be riding a $12,000 e-foil board, which allows users to glide above the water, and last year Zuckerberg was pictured riding a similar board caked in an obscene amount of sunscreen off the coast of Hawaii, which I believe became a pretty well-known meme of him with a weird amount of sunscreen. So in the video posted Sunday, the mega billionaire deftly slices through the water on his board to the tune of John Denver's "Take Me Home, Country Roads." This is the worst thing that has ever existed, one Twitter user commented on the video. So Mark Zuckerberg posted a video of himself on Instagram wakeboarding while holding an American flag and set to the music of the late John Denver singing "Take Me Home, Country Roads." I saw it, so now you have to see it too. I'm sorry, I did not make the rules. Happy #July 4th. So let's see if we could do this. Boom, boom, boom. No audio. 106,000 views is pretty crazy. But you know, he's pretty skilled, right? Like that, you gotta give props to him to be able to do that on a wakeboard, right? He's pretty skilled. I mean, one-handing the American flag is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. But here's the thing, right? If you're a billionaire, like if you get your finances to the point where you're a literal billionaire, there's worse things that you could be doing with your money and your time, right? Personally, I see nothing wrong with this. I think this is actually kind of cool, right? I mean, think about it. If you're someone who has immense wealth and you love the country, I would probably do the same thing, right? Like if I had an immense amount of wealth, I'd probably do something as absurd as this, right? And there's definitely worse things to go about doing your July 4th or celebrating July 4th. But honestly, I kind of like this, right? And this is also very anti-woke, no matter how you look at it, which is kind of funny because of how woke Facebook has gotten and how woke a lot of these social media companies have gotten. So for him, the founder of one of these massive companies that are getting very woke, I just find it kind of like interesting, but it also kind of shows that Zuckerberg might not believe the same way that his company does, right? Even though he's the founder and still the owner, and I believe maybe the main shareholder of it. I'm not really too certain on that, but it kind of goes to show you that regardless of your beliefs, your personal beliefs, that even if you founded a company, that company can end up going down a route that you might not necessarily 100% agree with, which kind of shows that perhaps the best way to create a massive company is not going the route of going public and staying private. Now, the reason why I say that is because once you go public and you start introducing influence from shareholders, well, guess what? They're going to end up diluting how much money or how much percentage of the company that you actually end up owning. They could end up doing something like a hostile takeover, and you could basically pretty much just lose the company due to no fault of your own, right? So I kind of feel like Zuckerberg himself is more of an independent thinker and like is thinking more out of the mainstream media, even though he is the founder of a company that has massive control over social media. I just think personally, him, just him, views very differently than what his company actually thinks. That being said, he's still probably very much so on the left-hand side of the political spectrum. And, that's not going to be too surprising. But I don't think that he's necessarily extreme on the left side. I think he's more of a probably center-left individual, politically speaking. But his company is leaning far, far further to the left. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Facebook. Yeah, obviously the company will probably continuously grow. But I kind of wonder if he's still going to be the head of the company, right? Because it might get to the point where there might be some sort of hostile takeover, or he might just basically say, like, you know what, I just give up. I'm just going to walk away. I don't know, right? But either way, I think it's cool to see someone with immense amount of money still supporting or showing support to the country. I think that's still pretty cool to see because let's face facts, there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of money who have a lot of presence that would not be willing to put themselves in a situation where, they might be ridiculed or all this other stuff for pretty much no reason, but basically there's a lot of people on social media that for some reason hate the country that they live in and they still stay in the country for whatever reason. But either way, feel free to give your thoughts. I personally think that this is actually a good thing. I think it's a good thing that someone in his position is willing to show support for a country that basically allows him to do what he does, right? There's not really any other country out there that would allow him to do what he's doing, to become a billionaire in the way that he has, because there's so many different laws in, various countries that honestly would either limit you, would take control of your company, and potentially, off your head, right? Like, there's a lot of very restrictive countries, so out of all of them, the United States isn't really that bad. So fellow tech exec Aaron Levy, founder and CEO of enterprise cloud company Box, jousted Zuck really doing his part to make tech founders seem normal. Now, he definitely doesn't seem normal, but again, I still like the fact that he does show support to the country. I think that's pretty cool. But the video drew comparisons to George Washington's daring crossing of Delaware in 1776 to launch a surprise attack on unsuspecting British forces. Now, again, I want to say something too, right? As like a side note, out of all of the like tech founders out there, it seems like Zuckerberg's probably is like one of the most fit and healthiest ones out there, which is pretty interesting to see. But you usually don't see that. Okay, so meanwhile, a reporter for the Australian Broadcasting Corporation shared a photo of the video alongside a 2016 photo of Zuckerberg going for a jog in Beijing's Tiananmen Square. That face. So what a difference 5 years can make, he wrote. Zuckerberg's 2016 jog through Beijing, despite hazardous levels of air pollution in the city at the time, was seen as capitulation to the Chinese government in a bid to secure permission for Facebook to operate in the country. In another comment on Zuckerberg's 4th of July video, one user said, "When you get your antitrust lawsuit thrown out about it by a judge, let's go, Zuck." That's an apparent reference to last week's decision by a federal judge to dismiss antitrust complaints filed by the U.S. Federal Trade Commission in a parallel suit filed by a coalition of 48 states and districts against Facebook. So Facebook's PR team spent years trying to craft Zuckerberg's image, which is funny because the strategy now seems to be let the dude let his freak flag fly. Some social media users also resurfaced a May article from The Information that said Facebook planned to repair its image by ramping up the founder's own media profile. Some pointed out the video may just be an effort to get a reaction from the internet and serve as easy publicity, and Zeg tries to improve his public image by the only means possible to outdo Fonzie jumping the shark, wrote at Fraser_Hayden. Either way, I still think this is kind of like a fun video to do, and honestly, if I was a billionaire, or if someone was a billionaire, why wouldn't you do something like this, as absurd as this, right? Just for the fun of it, right? Because, I mean, here's the thing, right? There's a very good likelihood that he simply doesn't have a lot of control in his company, right? It is a public company, and he has to basically bend over for his shareholders. So when it comes down to it, who knows how much actual power he actually has, how much control he actually has? Because here's the thing, unless you like pull the like layers of the onion, like just keep on pulling off the multiple layers of the onion, we don't really know what's actually going on within that company unless you're actually there, right? Now, unless you got like some like hidden people in there, like, you know, reporting stuff and whatnot, that's a whole nother thing. But again, I don't know how much power he truly has against all the people in his company, right? Because again, this is not a private company, so he doesn't have complete control, right? Like, no matter what, it's a fact that he does not have 100% control over his company. So it might be better to not do anything like a SPAC deal or going public, just so that you could retain control and do whatever it is you want to do with your company. So that might be a better option. Either way, it's interesting to see a billionaire do something like this. Feel free to give your thoughts. Feel free to share this with someone who might want to get like a little laugh or something. But either way, pretty interesting.